Hey, Dante, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I can't see you. They've updated Zoom and I don't understand how it works.
Oh, good. I can see you.
Can you see the presentation screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. Problem is I don't know how to promote anyone to be, the presenter or to do it's very messed up.
Copy that.
What just happened?
Mm.
I didn't do all I did was it's very, very frustrating.
Love technology.
Oh boy. Yeah, this is terrible. And I've been working on this for half an hour.
Just messing with it.
Just trying to fix it. Just trying to make it so I can see what's going on. Yeah, I can't even see any people's. Yeah, I can't see the chat either. At any rate, since we're here for a second and since you can see the screen, we'll start off with all the stuff.
Yep.
I'll go through this. I'm going to talk about the drill real quickly.
The at Hanson Dam.
Right. And then I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about what's going on with uh, our wildfire coordinating efforts.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that's done, then we're going to go right into the insurance discussion.
Okay, copy. My talking points are going to be about Bel Air, Bella Ridge, Oak Ridge, just generalization of how we're
Yeah.
kind of moving forward with them. Hopefully getting 2 to 3 more fire safe councils within the next 2 to 3 months
Yep.
as our goal. And then we're hoping our efforts will start to ramp up as this summer begins to kick off with the fire seasons.
Yeah. All of that is good. I really wish I understood why this is the way it is. On top of everything else, I've had some spotty internet capability this afternoon.
Is just the your service provider just been kind of falling
Just,
through?
for a moment here and there, it's, for like a minute at a time, it's non-functional.
Oof. Um, oh, so that just since I have you, so that Oak Ridge Google form, like I I made it just because we had our team meeting prior to the Oak Ridge fire safe wildfire safety fair,
Uh-huh.
and you had mentioned you had wanted a smoke alarm form to go out to them for interest form of just to make our efforts a little easier. So that's why that I developed that, but I did not know that we are getting one for our MySafe smoke alarm or my smokealarm.com. So I can hold off on that until, but that's what that form was in regards about.
Okay. Yeah, you don't need to talk about my smoke alarm.
Oh no, I'm not going to talk about. I was just since you and I had a moment, wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, Carl, can you hear us? can you see the people? Can you see Dante?
Well,
Can you see me?
I can see the list of who's in, yeah. There's just the three of us right now, yeah. But I can't see who's waiting.
No, that's not what I'm at. That's not what I asked you. I asked you if you could see the faces of the people who are logged in.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I can't.
Oh, why not? What's the deal?
I don't know why not. They updated
Again?
Zoom and none of the controls are the same. So I can't see anyone. So unfortunately, I'm just wondering if I should try and make someone else a co-host.
Yeah, if you like. Do you have a tablet that you could try to put by your side and see if that will bring up the
Right.
faces?
I've been doing this for 40 minutes now.
Oh, great.
I'm going to make you the co-host right now, Carl.
Okay. Okay, yeah, now I see. I'm gonna let, shall I let Rob in so we can test his, showing his screen?
Sure.
Hi, Rob, you there?
I'm here. Hi, Carl. How are you doing?
Good. You want to just do a quick test to show your screen?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Whenever you're ready.
It says I can't start while the other participant is sharing. There we go.
There it comes.
Okay. You guys see me click through everything?
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, looks great.
Good, good. And then, yeah, thanks for having me and inviting me to speak today. How do you know how many people are like registered for today's event?
We don't do
Um,
registration because when we did that, people didn't come.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
but we do this every month, and usually on a good month, we have like 80.
Oh, okay.
On a slow month, we have maybe 30, 35. We've already got like a dozen people in the waiting room waiting to get in.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And
Yeah, now
mostly,
with the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dave.
no, you go ahead.
With the fires that we've had, especially the one in Gorman and then the little one.
Yeah.
You would hope that there would be impetus to join us, but we shall see.
Okay, so now it says participants can see my screen, but I can't. All right, there we go. Now I can. It seems like I can either look at participants or the presentation screen, but not both.
Strange.
And Rob, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping and bring people up to speed on a couple of recent activities, and then we will turn it over to you.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And we'll see what happens in terms of questions and answers and stuff that people are looking for.
All right, we got 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
We got 13. Pat Hanley's on as always. Always good to have her.
By the way, this image and most of the images in tonight's presentation are from the post fire from this past weekend.
Oh, wow.
That's a good picture right there. Excellent.
Yeah, it's a really good photo.
Yeah, you can see the
All the photos are good that we're going to share.
19.
So Carl, your job will be, when we have Q&A and stuff, to make sure that everyone's muted and the person that is speaking, that we can see their hand raised and stuff, because I won't be able to see that.
Sure. Okay.
So I will leave that whole selecting who to speak and stuff up to you. And then, I think that's pretty much what I'm mostly concerned about right now. And Carl, Dante will give the wildfire update tonight.
Okay, good. It was a hell of a drive up to Gorman. Oh my God.
Was it?
Yeah, the traffic was hard on the way up, but
Oh, sorry about that.
that's it. And it was, you know, being surrounded by semi-trailers.
Well, it is a semi, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and there was this construction going on, so we kept losing the right lane. But the way back, all downhill, just about, I think I hit 38 miles a gallon
Ah,
on the way downhill, because the Edge has like a coast feature. I don't know if the other Ford SUVs do. You just let your foot up and let gravity take you down the hill, so you're burning like no gas. You get 40 miles a gallon right away. So the traffic on the rack was a breeze, except for the usual down at the bottom of the 405.
oh, that's good. So Rob, we're over 30 people already in the waiting room.
Okay. All right.
And I saw exactly where the fire started, in a little gully next to a auto mechanic store place. It went around the restaurant, and then went up the hill.
Right.
Yeah, strange how the wind brought it. And that restaurant was a McDonald's or something. Yeah, McDonald's went right around it, no damage to the. So, yeah, I falsely used the word restaurant for McDonald's, fast food house, shall we say.
Sure, sure. All right, about another minute or so, and we'll let people in.
36. Good so far, yeah.
38, 39, 40, 40. Someone was there for just a second and left.
Yeah, you're trying to jump the gun there. I see. Do I hear 40, 41, 41, 40, 40, 41, 42?
They're all
Oh.
coming in. I'm letting everyone in.
Nice cover shot.
Was that
Is that you,
Greg?
Greg?
Yes,
Yeah.
what?
That looks like a Mike Meadows shot.
No, it's not.
No?
Nope.
$55.
All right, everyone, we're just waiting for a few more people to join. We'll get started in just a minute or two. Please make sure that you're muted. We will have a question and answer period on several occasions, and we want you to use the raise your hand option that Zoom provides. And as soon as you do that, then we'll be able to call on you and you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Whatever it is that you'd like to do to participate would be great. Thank you for your patience while we let people in. We'll go 30 seconds and we'll get started. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June Fire Safe Council for Los Angeles virtual town hall. My name is David Barrett, and I'm joined tonight by Dante Cornejo, our wildfire specialist, and Carl Ginsberg, our wildfire coordinator. And we've got quite an evening of activity planned for you. We hope that you find that it's not only entertaining, but very useful for you. We really want everyone to make sure that they're able to gain good information from what we're doing tonight. A little bit of housekeeping just before we get started so that everyone, we can all be on the same page. We do record this. We're setting up a new method of distributing older Fire Safe Council town halls. It's not quite finished, so we're a little bit behind. We appreciate your patience, but we will have April, May up and running very shortly, and of course, be able to add June right away as well. So thank you for that. If you are interested in anything that we put up on the screen, we often use QR codes, so you can either do a screen grab or just aim your phone at the QR code on the screen, and that should be able to take you to where you want to go. One thing that I would note is all of the images that you see tonight, unless we specifically tell you otherwise, are from the post-fire from this past weekend. So this particular shot, which was taken by Mike Meadows, is of Fire 5 with a water drop over one of the largest fires to happen yet this year in Southern California. And we'll talk a little bit more about all of that and its impact on us and so on. So our agenda for tonight, a couple opening remarks. We're going to share some information about the wildfire drill that was conducted by all of the Southern California first responder agencies. Then we will have a discussion with the California Department of Insurance. And once that is completed, then we will move on to a discussion about wildfires, that they are back and that this looks to be a severe wildfire season. We're also going to talk about a wildfire notification solution. A lot of people have talked to us over the last year about issues that they have been concerned about relative to notification, whether you live in a canyon, you don't have a lot of great cell service, whatever it may be. And then we're going to talk about some of our upcoming wildfire safety fairs. So there's a lot going on tonight. We hope that you find it really useful. So let's start off by doing a quick review of the LA City wildfire drill that occurred at Hanson Dam. This was a significant effort. It involved nearly 300 members of the LA City Fire, LA County Fire, Burbank Fire, Glendale Fire, Angeles National Forest, as well as the LAPD. There were two primary objectives. One was to manage simulated evacuation. So that meant all of the LAPD were deployed into a neighborhood to manage the safe evacuation of individuals. And then the command post operated in unified command, bringing a number of people together. And they also worked on a spot fire to suppress that particular spot fire. This particular event was hosted by Councilwoman Rodriguez, who heads the Public Safety Committee for the LA City Council. You can see on the images here, the top image on the left is showing you how an evacuation process is mapped out. And the image below shows how it's essentially an organizational chart that shows you how things are managed. This is an event that was taken very seriously, and it was operated in real time over a period of about 2 hours. So this image here shows you both a combination of active firefighters and camp crew members establishing a line where they could suppress a spot fire. You could see a helicopter up above doing a water drop. All of this stuff was coordinated from the unified command post. And just a couple more images here that show you the images, how the firefighters were being deployed, how they were all utilizing their brush gear. And once this was over, there was a hot wash discussion about what took place. This was conducted over 3 days. On the Saturday, there was also a public safety fair where people were able to come and talk to different vendors about wildfire safety and home fire safety and so on. But the main emphasis here was managing this drill. And even though you can't see very clearly here, there were about 60 different pieces of apparatus. So this was treated as if it was a rapidly moving wind-driven wildfire. And this kind of practice is extremely important, particularly after what took place just this past weekend. And we'll talk more about that in a few minutes. So now I'd like to bring up Dante Cornejo. He is our wildfire specialist and EMT. Dante is actually quite remarkable. He's going to talk to you a little bit about updates on what the Fire Safe Council for Los Angeles, MySafe LA, has been doing over the last month. Dante?
Thank you, David. Hello, everyone. So as the wildfire specialist on the team and just with MySafe LA, we've been pretty busy just with, we had a very successful wildfire safety fair in Oak Ridge, and we have 2 more coming up, which I believe we'll talk to you guys a little about later. And we're also in coordination with 3 communities, and we should be getting them up to speed in terms of bringing them on as upcoming fire safe councils within the next 3 months. So we should have about 2 to 3 fire safe councils within the next 2 to 3 months. That's our current goal, and we're been busy with doing home assessments, community risk, community threat assessments, and going around and just helping these organizations, these communities, with their 3-year action plan in terms of how they will continue to develop their current state and continue to work forward in evolving with maintaining safety within their communities in terms of wildfire prevention and protecting their communities. So that's a little bit of update of what we've been doing, and we've had a busy we've had a busy June thus far, and we're looking to have a busy July and August. So we're excited.
So to add on to what Dante has shared with you, we're doing wildfire assessments where we're identifying the things in a particular home that may require action by the homeowner or by someone that the homeowner engages to help them, whether it be defensible space clearance, installing mesh screens, improving their gutter safety, improving zone 0, the 5-foot range around the structure, all that sort of thing. So these assessments are very, very important, plus helping entities to become fire safe councils. The Brentwood Homeowners Association is an example of an organization we started working with about a year ago that is now a fire safe council. And we've got a number of others that are just on the verge of becoming either a Firewise, NFPA Firewise site or a fire safe council. Are you good? Are you good, Dante?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you.
Okay. So now we're going to move on to one of the most important things that people are interested in insurance discussion. Rob Obadoza has been a terrific collaborator with us. We've had him at our wildfire safety fairs, and he's an associate governmental program analyst, and he works in community relations. I'd like to just remind everyone that Rob is on our side as individuals. And even though this is a complicated and not very happy crisis going on in the insurance industry overall, he's here to listen to you and to try and help. So I would just ask everyone to be polite in dealing with Rob. These are important issues, and he's here tonight because he wants to be helpful, which I think is a really important aspect of what we're doing. So with that, Rob, I will stop sharing so that you can. Are you ready?
Yep, ready to go. Thank you, David.
All right.
So Again, as David mentioned, I'm Rob Obidoza. I'm one of the outreach analysts for the Department of Insurance, covering most of northern Los Angeles, along with Ventura County and Santa Barbara County. And I'm going to present a little bit about what the department is doing to create a more sustainable insurance market, bring those options back to California, talk a little bit how we got here, and some of the steps that the department is taking to lead to a more sustainable and affordable insurance market. So just a quick background, I mean, one of the things that got us here is, global inflation has been increasing out of control, natural disasters and so forth, cost of rebuilding, supplies, materials, everything has been going up. And as a result, the cost of insurance has been going up. In addition to that, reinsurance is harder to find, which reinsurance is basically what insurance companies use to protect themselves. And those reinsurance options for those insurance companies are growing harder to find as catastrophes grow around the world. And as these insurance companies' risk grows, their markets are starting to contract, meaning they are not writing new policies, they are moving out of certain states, or they just want to be able to be solvent enough for the policies that they already have. So they're not looking to write new policies or renew policies that might be considered higher risk. So in California specifically, in the past couple of years, the top 12 companies that control California's insurance market cover about 85% of the state's homeowners market. So those are kind of like the bigger names like State Farm, Farmers Insurance, and so forth. But since 2022, 7 of those top 12 insurance companies have either paused or restricted new business despite rate increases approved or pending with the Department of Insurance. So with this graph here, you can see a little breakdown of the top 12 insurance companies within the state of California. You can see their market share. You can see that they've asked for rate increases, meaning, they are, when they file for rate increases with the department, it goes through an approval process. And if their assumptions are actuarially sound, they should be approved. So they've asked for these rate increases, but even with those increasing rates, they're still limiting policies, not writing new policies, and so forth. So it's not just a matter of increasing the cost, it's more of a matter of assessing the risk in a more accurate manner, which is something we've discovered with these insurance companies and what their end goal is. And for the most part, in the past 10 years, these insurance companies have done far worse in California than nationally. And I mean, that kind of goes without saying that in the past 10 years, California has suffered some of its most devastating wildfires in the state's history. And this results in a lot of payouts for these insurance companies, resulting in greater losses. And as a result, they're not looking to write new policies in those high risk areas. Also, we've noticed that enrollment in the FAIR plan has increased to 3% of the California market, becoming the insurer of first resort and not last resort for many. So as these companies are non-renewing policies or canceling policies outright, we're seeing a lot of residents moving on to the FAIR plan where, it's still a good option and it's something that you can use to fill in those requirements, but you're paying more for less coverage under the FAIR plan to meet those minimum requirements. And the essential goal of the Department of Insurance is to move those people off of the FAIR plan and back into the insurance market with full homeowners policies. And with those increased losses and increased risk for these companies, AM Best, the crediting agency, has downgraded the outlooks for the top 12 companies within the state of California. So State Farm, AAA, Mercury, with this downgrade in their credit rating, again, they're going to be contracting their market share and not writing those new policies. And unlike public utilities where they have to offer services in every area, under Prop 103, we at the department in the state of California, we can't compel insurance companies or force them to write policies in high risk areas, and they won't write those policies unless they can cover 100% of their consumer claims, their expenses, and earn a fair return. So let's talk about some of the steps that the department has been taking to assess the current climate in the insurance market and attack the root cause of the reason that these insurance companies are contracting and no longer writing policies in certain areas is the wildfire risk. So again, even if we develop all these regulations and things like that, we still can't force them to write those policies. But these regulations, these tools are something that the insurance companies have been looking towards to be able to assess the risk a little greater, to assess the fire mitigation that's been happening across the state, and to ensure that they can start writing policies in California again. So the first in these regulations that the commissioner introduced was called the Safer from Wildfires Framework, which is a 3-step process to protect your home or business, protect the immediate surroundings, and protect your whole community. So for each of these bullet points, it's written in the California insurance regulations that when these insurance companies are filing their rate filings, if a consumer has met each of these bullet points, they should be eligible for a certain discount for having a Class A fire rated roof, a 5-foot ember resistant zone around the structure, non-combustible 6 inches at the bottom of the walls, ember and fire resistant vents, double pane windows or added shutters, and enclosed eaves. So if you go down that checklist and you've met those requirements, you should be talking to your insurance carrier and seeing what type of discounts you're eligible for meeting these regulations. And if we extend that out from your home or business, we've got another 3 steps that can get you a discount and reduce your risk and increase your risk mitigation as well, which includes clearing vegetation and debris from under your decks, moving sheds and outbuildings at least 30 feet away, and trimming trees and removing brush in compliance with state and local defensible space laws. In addition to that, being a part of a FireWise community or a fire risk reduction community can also carry discounts with your insurance carrier. So all insurance carriers in the state of California who fall under Prop 103, they're required to give these discounts if you are meeting these regulations. And even though the FAIR Plan is not under Prop 103 or doesn't fall in those regulations, they also provide discounts for forming FireWise communities, having Class A roof, and so forth. So I would recommend that if you have already been taking these steps or want to know what steps you need to take in order to get those discounts on your wildfire insurance policies, I would contact your broker or contact your insurance company and let them know, what you might be eligible for or what you can do to get those discounts implemented. Along with these safer from wildfire regulations, the California FAIR Plan, as we said, began offering insurance discounts by following those regulations. We've also improved the FAIR Plan in offering $20 million coverage per location for commercial properties or commercial policies, including HOAs. And the wildfire risk score regulations allow consumers to request and appeal your property risk score. So that's something I want to point out as well, as that wildfire risk score, which is a score that the insurance companies use to assess your wildfire risk for each property in the state of California. And the higher the risk, the less likely it is they'll write a policy for that property. And you as a consumer are allowed to request those wildfire risk scores from your insurance company whenever you're up for renewal, whenever you're applying for a new policy, whenever you've received a cancellation or non-renewal notice, or when you've done some mitigation to your property and you want a reassessment of your wildfire risk score, you can request that from that company as well. So definitely stay informed with that wildfire risk score. Take a look and see what they're basing those scores on for your property, and see what else you can do to help improve that score, and as well as improving your risk mitigation for wildfires. So a couple other things that the department is working on, and this is kind of what I wanted to focus on today, are a couple of the bullet points on this, what's called the sustainable insurance strategy, which is the strategy for the commissioner to lead to a more sustainable, accessible, and affordable insurance market. So this first bullet point, where insurance availability in at-risk areas, this is something that we've had some developments recently as last week, which I'm going to link into the chat in just a second, which is going to require insurance companies to write no less than 85% of homes and businesses in distressed areas as identified by the insurance commissioner. And then in the next couple slides, we're actually going to talk about what those risk areas are and how they've been identified so far, and also how you can provide feedback for those regulations at a workshop that we're having next week. And the goal of the sustainable insurance strategy is to return FAIR Plan policyholders to the open market. As I mentioned, the FAIR Plan is increasing steadily over time, and you're not getting as much coverage with what the FAIR Plan covers compared to a full standard homeowners insurance policy. So the goal with these regulations is to move people off of the FAIR Plan and back into the insurance market. Also, by the way, that first priority will be given to those policyholders who have been following those safer from wildfires regulations. So once insurance companies start writing in those areas again, and you've been following those wildfire regulations on the FAIR Plan, you'll be given first priority for those new policies. We're also going to talk a little bit more about CAT models, or catastrophe modeling, which is something that insurance companies in California have been asking for quite some time. These catastrophe models allow insurance companies to assess risk a lot more accurately than using historical models, which they currently do. So we'll talk about that in just a second. We're also exploring California reinsurance costs, where basically, as I mentioned, reinsurance is how insurance companies kind of minimize their own risk. And right now, those costs include like Florida's hurricanes, wildfires in Texas, natural disasters all over the country. Whereas we're introducing regulations to focus on California's only reinsurance costs. And we're also looking to modernize the FAIR plan by expanding commercial coverage limits to 20 million per structure, which closes coverage gaps for HOAs, affordable housing, and infill developments. Now, I'm going to link into the chat real quick. What I'm going to talk about next is this consumer alert that we sent out last week about those identifying those high risk areas where insurance companies are going to have to write more policies. In order for them to use catastrophe modeling and some of the tools that we're going to be introducing, they're going to have to increase their market share and increase policies in certain high risk areas. So allowing them to use catastrophe models leads to greater safety and better risk assessment. This accounts for individual, community, and statewide mitigation. So all the efforts that you as a homeowner, you and your community, the state of California have been putting into the state over the past few years, they're going to be able to more accurately take that into account when assessing their risk models. They're also recognizing changing conditions such as climate and real estate development in high-risk wildfire areas, and better management of catastrophic risk and premium accuracy. So some of the guiding principles behind identifying these high-risk areas is to maximize geographic relief to insurance consumers, to cover as many people as we can, define distressed areas of the state in a way that is clear, understandable, and addresses the FAIR plan growth. And we want to continue monitoring distressed areas annually to focus on expanding insurance access for distressed properties. So, as the climate changes, as the mitigation increases and so forth, these quote unquote high risk areas may be changing in the future, and we're going to continue monitoring those changes. So, living in California, we've got a lot of different climates, a lot of different geographical features. We've got coastlines, we've got forested areas, deserts, cityscape, and so forth. So in developing these regulations, we took a hybrid approach, because not a one-size-fits-all approach, which is going to apply to all of California. We want to take a hybrid approach, which is going to maximize the insurance availability for Californians. So the first thing that we take a look at are specific zip codes. So we identified high and very high fire hazard categories based on the most recent CAL FIRE maps. And upcoming in just a second, you'll see some maps that we were basing on the 2021-2022 CAL FIRE maps, but those will be updated as we get more updated information. We also took a look at zip codes which have a FAIR plan concentration rate of at least 15% or higher. So if 15% of the homeowners' wildfire policies are under the FAIR plan, that's going to be considered a high risk zone. Affordability index for income eligible in high and very high fire hazard areas categories based on the cost of coverage. So there's also an income index as well. We also took a look at high risk counties. So of the counties across the state of California, we took at wildfire risk scores. So if 20% or more properties in a county are considered high risk, then they will fall under these regulations where those insurance companies will need to write more policies. And that 20% threshold helps prevent cherry picking in low risk urban areas. And then we also took a look at where pockets of the FAIR plan exist in wildfire risk. So we know that pockets of the FAIR plan policies exist in nearly every county. As part of the new growth benchmarks, insurance companies will take FAIR plan policies in Northern, Central, and Southern California, so all across the state, not just in those high-risk areas. So with the CAL FIRE maps, this was released last week by the department, identifying those preliminary counties that are considered high risk, that have the higher risk of FAIR plan policies and increased wildfire risk. And within that, in those policies, so it's the darker, or no, it's the lighter colored counties that are listed there. So you can see like Monterey, Tulare, parts of it, Tuolumne, and so forth. So under those lighter shaded areas, those insurance companies, they've got to write a minimum of 85% of wildfire policies in those distressed areas. Now, for smaller companies who don't have a large market share that really cannot write up to 85% of those policies, they have to shoot for an annual growth of at least 5% policies within those distressed areas. So every year when they file their rate filings with the Department of Insurance, they've got to show that growth within those wildfire distressed areas to show that they're writing more policies in those areas. And that also applies for commercial properties as well. We're looking at a 5% growth for all of those companies. And although a lot of this is focused on moving insurance policyholders off of the FAIR Plan into the open insurance market, you can see, I mean, in general, the FAIR Plan is still a very small part of our overall insurance market within the state of California. So it's not a large thing, but as we said, under the FAIR Plan, being the insurance of last resort and not first resort, and offering less coverage for higher premiums, we want to continue. We don't want that number to continue increasing. We want to continue moving consumers back to the traditional market. So under that three-step approach, zip codes with greater than 15% FAIR Plan policies, those larger companies, they're going to write 85% of the policies written in the traditional market, and those smaller companies will have that 5% growth. Same thing with the counties with greater than 20% of properties in higher risk. Those larger companies will write 85% of the policies written in that market, and those smaller companies will continue that 5% growth. And then for FAIR Plan policies statewide in wildfire risk areas, 5% of growth of writing to take policies out of the FAIR Plan. So continue writing those traditional homeowners policies while slowly taking out those communities from the FAIR Plan. So this will hopefully lead to more coverage options and fewer FAIR Plan policies in areas of higher risk. So how does the Department of Insurance enforce that these companies are going to write those policies in those high-risk areas? So under existing law, under Prop 103, the department can do a market conduct exam and audit insurance companies if they fail to meet the requirements. We can conduct rate hearings, which if they're not keeping up with those policies, which can lead to rate adjustments for their rate filings or even refunds to their consumers if they've been overcharged. And we will also prevent insurance companies from using catastrophe models in assessing their future risks. So as I said, California is currently one of the only states that does not use catastrophe modeling in its risk assessment. And if these companies are not following these regulations and continuing to increase their market share and writing increased policies in these identified areas, then they won't be able to use those models any further in the future. So the reason I wanted to kind of talk about this today is because on June 26th, next week on Wednesday, we're having a public workshop, virtual, online, which you can find the registration link at insurance.ca.gov. A lot of these regulations, everything that we talked about today, is based on feedback from meeting with communities, meeting with organizations, meeting with people out there, and understanding, some of the issues that people are facing out there. And we want to hear your comments about these regulations that are being drafted. You can find the full list of text on insurance at the link I sent earlier, and you can also register there as well. Also, if you'd like to provide written comment, you can email that to cdiregulations@insurance.ca.gov. So yeah, that's the next step in the department's goal to leading to a more available insurance market. I strongly encourage everyone to register for that. Provide your comments, read through the regulations, and provide feedback on how you feel the direction the company or the Department of Insurance is going with. But also, on a more granular level, if you're having problems with your insurance company, if you're having trouble finding a policy, if you don't agree with some of your insurance company's claims or have a dispute, that's also what we're here for. We're your consumer advocates for the insurance market. So if you have any issues with your policy, if you have a dispute, give us a call and we can help you out and take a look at your policy and see what we can do. And so with that, that's everything I have today. So thank you for listening to our presentation.
So we're going to allow people to share questions that they may have. But before we do that, I thought we would offer up a couple of things ourselves. So Rob, there are three things that a lot of the people who are here tonight probably want to know about. And your presentation shared a lot of forward-looking ideas, and here's how we're looking at kind of changing things. But a lot of people live in the here and now.
Yeah.
People are having trouble selling their homes, for example, if they can't pass an AB 38 inspection. People are concerned that even if they can get insurance, that the insurance is so much more expensive than it was before that it's not tenable. And people are also concerned that they've lived in a place, and I think this is a good place to start if you could provide some comments. People have lived in a certain place for a long time, 20, 25, 30 years. They've never had a loss, they've never had a claim, and yet they've been kind of just zip coded or territory reviewed, and they're being dropped, even if it's for the short term, but they're losing their insurance. And they don't understand what they're under the impression that they've done something wrong. And we try and help them understand that that's not the case. But it seems like when you're told you can't have something and you've been working hard to do the right thing, that you're kind of losing ground and that you've done everything you can to no avail. One thing that I would add in this range is that more and more insurance companies are starting to use drones to assess properties, and they do it without taking into account anything that the property owner may be doing to harden their home or to create defensible space. And just because of a drone overview, which is only one perspective, which is from the air down, they're making decisions to drop people. So I know I covered a lot of ground there, but could you provide some feedback in general so that residents have an understanding about A, that they're not necessarily doing anything wrong, and B, what can they do when they're faced with the situations I described?
No, yeah. I mean, you kind of summed it up pretty succinctly there. I mean, you can do everything that you can. You can reduce your risk mitigation. You can clear all your brush, replace your roof, and all that stuff. But like as I mentioned earlier, under Prop 103, we can't force these insurance companies to write a policy, no matter how much mitigation you've done on your property, no matter how few or no claims that you've had on your property throughout the years, no matter how long you've been a loyal customer to them. Ultimately, it's up to for these companies. Ultimately, it just comes down to the risk assessment and if it's worth it for them to cover that policy or not. And under their guiding principles, under their formulas and their calculations, they've just decided that those homeowners, they just can't afford to keep those on their books. So, I mean, yeah, it can be extremely frustrating if you've been with a company 20 or 30 years through the whole time that you've owned your house, and suddenly, there's no loyalty from that insurance company. And, a couple of solutions that we've found, just from meeting with people across the state is, I mean, you're just gonna have to shop around, I mean, like I said, you can do everything you can on your property to protect your home and make yourself a little more appealing and reduce that risk. But ultimately, if that company is not going to insure you, you're going to have to look elsewhere. And in most cases, you're going to have to look for smaller companies, not some of the bigger names that you're usually looking at, like State Farm or Farmers. A lot of the smaller companies, which on our website, we have a list of all the companies that are available to do business in the state of California under the California regulations. You're just gonna have to go down to some of those smaller agencies, smaller brokers who still have risk available on their books and to be able to write those policies. What a lot of people are turning to, as we mentioned, of course, the FAIR plan is an option. But I would say, if you do go on the FAIR plan, still continue making those calls and assessing your options and finding other companies. Don't just stay with the FAIR plan. Like I said, you still want to get back on a traditional insurance policy. Just because you're on the FAIR plan, don't stop making those calls, continue shopping around. What a lot of people are also doing, and what I've seen at some of these meetings as well, when we've had like insurance agents or like insurance companies attend, is people are looking at non-admitted carriers, which are like the surplus market. Basically, these are companies that can do business and sell policies within the state of California, but they don't fall under the state of California regulations, meaning their rate filings are not under review by the state of California. You don't have certain consumer protections by the state of California with these companies, but they're still all legal, and there are still really good companies out there that are writing those policies. It might cost a little more, unfortunately, and it might be a little more riskier, but there's a lot of reputable companies out there that are offering those what are non-admitted carriers. So that is an option as well. Also, if you haven't done so already, try bundling your home insurance with like your auto insurance or any other insurance product to make yourself a better, more appealing customer to these insurance companies. I mean, if you're just looking to get a wildfire policy or a homeowner's policy, that company might not be looking to take on that risk. But if you're looking to combine some of those policies, that could be a solution as well. But for the most part as well, what I would recommend, if you do get a notice of cancellation or a non-renewal notice from the company that you've been with for quite some time, don't wait. act immediately. Give us a call at the department. We can help you sort through your options. We can help you with those lists of companies to contact. Don't wait until you have like 15 or 10 days left in your policy. Give us a call as soon as you can, and we can do what we can to help you out.
So we're gonna turn it over to Carl Ginsberg, who will manage people that have questions for you. I just want to bring up one more issue. You know, the bottom line for a lot of people and for the insurance carriers themselves is money. And in the context of money, in the time period from 2017 through 2021, carriers were saying that they were paying out collectively, they were paying out $1.13 for every dollar that they earned. So they were 13 cents per dollar upside down. Yet we're seeing rate increases which are far in excess of that delta. So what happens when someone finds out, okay, I can get insurance, but now it's 10 times more than what I was paying before? Are they forced into doing that, or what other kinds of options might they have? If you could address that briefly, and then we'll turn it over to our audience.
No, yeah. So under Prop 103, there's specific text, specific regulation, how these companies file their rate filings and ask for those increases. And as long as they're meeting those requirements under Prop 103, their assumptions are actuarially sound. We have to approve them, you know, so there's no choice with that, with the state of California. And as a result, yeah, those prices are going to continue to increase, unfortunately. And the heart of the matter is, you know, as the number of policies available out there shrink and less policies are being written, then the demand for those policies that are available is going to increase, and that's going to increase those prices. So that's all what really the strategy for the department is, to increase that availability, to increase the supply of those policies available, which in turn will lead to those companies competing for your dollar again, and maybe providing discounts again in the future, driving those prices down as they have to compete for your dollar. But you're right. As long as they meet those requirements under Prop 103 and follow those regulations with their rate filings, we have to approve them.
Understood. All right,
Yeah.
Carl, if you have questions, please raise your hand and Carl will call on you in the order that he sees your hand coming up, hopefully in the order that it occurs. And you'll be able to ask Rob any questions that you have. We'll probably spend 5 to 8 minutes on this session right here. Go ahead, Carl.
Hello, everybody. There was a question, Rob, on the chat regarding the FAIR plan and their financial position. He's asking if they're going to be around when they need insurance from the FAIR plan. Is it financially sound, or is it in trouble?
It is financially sound. So it's not at the risk of being in trouble. I mean, if it does get overloaded with high risk properties, there's always the chance that it can, but it's still at a low enough market share that it's not at the risk of being insolvent currently. But again, we don't want to kind of get to that edge where it is a tenable position where if there was a disastrous fire that it could make the FAIR plan insolvent for all those policyholders. But so that's the goal, is to slow the rate down of FAIR plan policyholders, get them back into the open insurance market. And also keep in mind that the FAIR plan, there's a misconception that the Department of Insurance is the one that kind of runs the FAIR plan, which is not the case. FAIR plan was created by a legislator, but it's actually funded and operated by the insurance companies in California. So I believe it's like a small percentage of each policy that they write goes to help fund that FAIR plan. So they're the ones that are on the hook for those FAIR plan losses and payouts. So it is in their best interest to not have continued an increasing presence on the FAIR plan and get them back to their own markets. But yeah, as of right now, it's really not in danger. As for the past 30 or 40 years, it's been in place. It's not in danger of going insolvent.
Thanks for that, Rob. Person named Stapsud, I don't know if it's Mr. or Mrs., but unmute yourself and go ahead with your question, please.
Hi, thank you. Taking off from this last question, if we had to go to one of the smaller regulated or unregulated insurance companies, don't we still have the problem and risk that they might go under compared to the big guys that we've been with? And is there anything to mitigate that?
Well, so that's what the California regulations, state of California Department of Insurance does. So when these companies are authorized and licensed to work under California regulations, they have to show that they are solvent and they're able to meet those policies that they're writing within the state of California. So that's one of the big differences of the regulated and non-regulated companies in California. Those ones that are regulated, they've got to meet certain requirements to show their solvency and the ability to pay out those policies with their rate filings and their increases and so forth. Those non-regulated supplemental insurance companies, they'll write the policies here, but we don't have control over their solvency and things like that. So that's why I mentioned earlier about the added risk of going with those companies. They're available, but it's a little more riskier because they don't fall under California regulations. But the solvency issues with like those smaller companies, that's all regulated under Prop 103. They have to show that they're solvent for those policies that they write within the state of California.
Okay, and if I have to go with the FAIR plan, because State Farm has just warned me that they will not reinsure me after 30 years here. If I have to go with the FAIR plan, is it one size fits all? Do they care that I have a house that has a sprinkler system in it since it's a newer house, that I have a metal roof? Do they care, or is it based just on my zip code and that's what I'm going to pay and that's what I'm going to do?
So typically with the FAIR plan, they've got certain requirements in order to, I mean, it's not like anything drastic. It's just like, you know, you've got to have, you don't have any existing damage on your property. You don't have like a lien on your home or anything like that, but there's still certain requirements that you've got to get on the FAIR plan. But I mean, it would be based on, yeah, they'll take a look at your assessed risk and determine what that policy would look like. So yeah, the FAIR plan is an option. A lot of people, what they also do is they'll get a difference in condition policy as well. So like the FAIR plan only covers like disaster insurance, but if you need additional coverage for like that things that the FAIR plan doesn't cover, they can get like a difference in conditions or like a wraparound policy, which State Farm and some other companies still provide. It's just the wildfire portion that's kind of the big issue with a lot of these companies. But yeah, I would recommend just contacting the FAIR plan and seeing your options and how they can assess your structure. And I will say, like in the years leading up to this point, like once the FAIR plan started taking on a lot of new customers, they weren't really prepared to take on that increase. Response times were slow. It was tough getting the quote and so forth. But from what I understand, especially hearing from brokers who have worked with the FAIR plan, the response is pretty good these days. They're auto approving quotes. You can get someone on the phone within less than 10 minutes or so, which is pretty good for customer service. So yeah, I would contact the FAIR plan and see what they can do for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ma'am, would you please lower your raised hand? Michelle, why don't you go ahead, unmute yourself and go ahead and read your question.
I had a question. You were speaking about FAIR plan, and I've been helping my mom with her insurance, and hers was supposed to renew in February. We just finally got the renewal completed for her with FAIR plan. It was a nightmare, and we still have not gotten our earthquake renewal corrected. And it's been an absolute nightmare dealing with. The agent's been helping us, everyone's trying to help us, but she still doesn't have her earthquake renewal. How do we know that FAIR plan's going to be able to handle the number of people that are going to need insurance that are getting canceled?
No, sure. So like I mentioned, they have definitely been kind of staffing up. They've definitely been increasing their response times, auto approving things. They definitely recognize, I believe, unfortunately, from what I understand, as the increase in their market share was happening, I think they also switched like a new system as well for like their online website. Yeah, so that kind of complicated things on top of that, which from what I understand, it's getting better. They're able to like take like online payments and a lot of basic things. But yeah, unfortunately, it still might be a little overwhelming in their situation. If you need some help, maybe contacting them. Like you said, your broker is most likely the best person to contact, but you can always give us a call at the Department of Insurance and we can see what we can do to help you out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sankari, go ahead with your question and unmute yourself, please.
Thank you. Thank you for this program. Living in the Fryman area, we know there's a lot of vegetation here, a lot of old growth trees and a lot of bushes and dried trees and so forth. It so happens that my neighbor planted some a hedge like 20 years ago, and it was supposed to be trimmed back to 8 feet, which is the regulation. And now it's 30 feet, and he refuses to cut it back, and he won't let me cut it back. Is there any way to, and I called the Department of Safety, and they say maybe in 2 or 3 years, they'll come out and look at the situation. Is there any way I can get to the fire department here in the Studio City area to come out and take a look at this hedge, which I think is it goes right over my roof and under my roof. It's already being infected with a fungus, so some of it's dying and it's ready to go into flame, and I can't do anything about it. Is
No,
there any?
so
What can
I mean,
we do?
you kind of mentioned that. I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's at this point, it's probably going to take like a community effort to do that. Getting your local fire department involved, your local like Firewise Council. I'm guessing that's what the folks at MySafe LA can help out with as well, and your neighbors, and helping them reduce that risk. Because again, I mean, you can do everything with your property to make yourself as safe as possible, but if your neighbor's not taking care of that, that's a danger to the whole community. So that's why, being part of those Firewise communities, talking to your local fire department, fire safe councils, and so forth, reach out to them. They might have resources to help you and your neighbor.
Well, my question is we've got a fire department person here. Will you do anything? Will you come out if I call you and take a look at the condition, which I think is very dangerous?
One of our wildfire specialists will come out to your home. So you can reach out to, you can send an email to info@mysafela.org, and we will set up a meeting with you, or you can give us a call at 213-634-0100, and we'll set up a meeting where we come out and inspect your property.
How long will it take to get response? As I said, the Department of Safety said about 2 years.
We could probably do it in less than 2 weeks.
Oh, great. Okay. All right. I will do that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Meyer. Jonathan, you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for this talk. I was told by somebody that it boils down to a political problem between the state and the insurance companies, that the insurance companies want to pass on their increased costs for reinsurance for catastrophes, and that the state is refusing to allow them to do that. Could you comment on that?
So that is definitely one of the points that we had talked about earlier. About part of this strategy is focusing on California only reinsurance costs, not across the nation. So we're not paying for like disasters in Florida or Texas or things like that. I will say the next step after this workshop that we've talked about, the wildfire risk areas, the next step is the regulations on the reinsurance costs for California only. So let me put a link to the sustainable insurance strategy that I talked about, but that is the next step. So definitely read up on those regulations. That should be coming in July for public viewing as well. So yeah, that's definitely coming in the pipeline. The next step after this wildfire risk map.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Carl Orphis, you have a question? Unmute yourself, sir, please.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Oh, Rob mentioned zip coding. Now, I live in 90049. Now, 90049 extends up into the hills in relatively high fire risk areas versus along Sunset, both north and south in the flats. Do you anticipate, or are insurance companies treating 90049 and other areas like that with some areas of high fire risk and other areas of low as only an area of high fire risk and canceling policies?
Oh, so you're saying like if a portion of a zip code is not considered high risk versus another one that's extremely high risk, are they just going to go ahead and cancel all the policies in that zip code, even the non-risk? That I to tell you the truth, I really can't say. I mean, the insurance companies, whatever calculations that they do, that's kind of their own information. It all just depends on if they can afford to. Well, actually, you know what? Let me back up a little bit. with this catastrophe modeling regulations that they're looking for, this allows them to look at risk on a more granular level rather than just by area, by zip code, and so forth. So I believe that these catastrophe models will allow them to assess that risk a little better rather than by a zip code, rather than just by neighborhood, but by property by property. So I believe that's the goal of this catastrophe modeling. But you're right. I mean, I think, what was that, State Farm, I think a couple months ago, they just released that whole list of zip codes where they were just canceling policies just outright. But yeah, I believe that's what the goal of catastrophe modeling is, to get that on a more granular level.
What's your experience so far been with USAA, which I've
USAA
had for 55 years?
So
65.
So I think USAA has had some positive press recently with the Department of Insurance. I don't have it on me right now, but I believe they have committed to still continue writing policies in the state of California. USAA state, or one of the other ones is like Mercury as well. They've already picked up policies from a smaller company called Tokyo Marine that was canceling policies. Mercury went ahead and picked those policies up. What company was it? Farmers. Oh, I forgot. It's one of the bigger ones, not AAA. One of the other bigger companies as well. They had mentioned that if these regulations were in place, they would start writing policies the very next day. But I believe USAA is one of those companies that are on board.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mrs. Nassler, go ahead with your question and unmute yourself, please.
Thank you. My question is not regarding insurance so much as prevention of fire.
He didn't know about the zip codes question you asked.
No, but
Yeah, go on. Sorry about that.
All right, thank you. I'm not sure we're ready to talk about fire prevention, but that to me is more important than just about anything.
Well, every month, these virtual town halls cover various topics in fire prevention. And after this insurance discussion, we're going to be talking a little bit about it. But last month, for example, we were talking about home hardening, the month before about defensible space. So attending these meetings every month is a good way to learn about what's going on. And we've got an announcement to make 15, 17 minutes from now that is directly related to what your interest is. So just hang on for a couple minutes and we'll hopefully give you some answers and some information that you'll like.
Okay, and this is the first notice that I've received of any of your meetings, so I hope that I'll be informed in the future.
Sure.
Well, we expect to see you here every month.
Well,
Welcome to join us. Would
Thank
you lower your raised hand, please, when you're done with your question?
all of that, and I hope that I will get notification because there are a lot of things I would like to discuss. Thank you. I'm in the process of lowering hand.
Okay.
Very welcome. Thank you, ma'am. Mrs. Susan Hamer, go ahead.
Yes, I lived in, I have State Farm and I've had it for 40 years and I live in the Hollywood Hills and I've got some old growth trees in my backyard. But after listening to this, I haven't had a problem in the whole time I've lived here, 40 years, no fires at all. So is it best for me to, on my insurance, I haven't gotten any notification from State Farm, but I'm worried. So is it best for me to call the fire department to see, I was going to have one of my trees trimmed back, but maybe I should wait to talk to the fire department to see what I really need to do? Or are you saying it's going to be wasted because they're going to cancel me anyway? Or I'm not really sure what, I'm sort of naive about all this. And this is also my first meeting. And if you could put a link to how we can sign up to get to future meetings, I would appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. So first of all, you could reach out to us and we will come and take a look at your home and give you a wildfire assessment for your property and let you know what needs to happen. We are a integral contracted partner with the Los Angeles City Fire Department. So we do a lot of the stuff that they don't have the bandwidth to do. And all of our folks are trained as first responders. So there's absolutely no problem with us coming and seeing what your issues are and sharing those with you. We actually have a NFPA form that we can complete and give to you, which will give you a good idea about where you stand. And I think it would be very helpful if we were able to do that. And as far as learning about future meetings, our website, wildfirela.org, wildfirela.org, on the homepage, every month's meeting is listed there. So you can easily copy the link, download the agenda, and be aware of that. Plus, we have a new newsletter that's coming out in July. It will also include information on every meeting. So by all means, the sign-up form is also on the homepage of wildfirela.org.
And when you say contact you about an assessment, is that the 213-634 number?
Sure.
That's the number I would call to get an assessment?
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. Really appreciate everything I'm learning tonight.
I've
And then
also,
go
I've
ahead.
also tossed my email in the chat. So if you'd like to email me directly, feel free to as well.
And then I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to add about like your insurance situation. Yeah, if you haven't received a cancellation or non-renewal, that's fantastic. Continue paying your premiums on time. Don't make any like large claims or anything like that. Just continue with that. But then also understand, you know, with the you know the market is right now. If you do get one of those notices, understand what your options are. Contact us as well and see what we can do. And that's another thing that we've found as well is like companies making like canceling or non-renewing policies because they felt that the property owners made certain claims and so forth, when in actuality that resident is only give them a call to ask them questions, but they've considered them claims. So it's kind of making a lot of insurance customers kind of gun shy in contacting their insurance companies. But you're right, as David had mentioned, probably the best thing to do is contact David and his organization, get that assessment, and see what you can do to with
A quick question is you're talking about if somebody's insurance gets canceled, what happens to their mortgage? Because sometimes when you have a mortgage, they need you to have insurance. So what happens to your mortgage if you don't have insurance?
Yeah, so that's the issue as well, where people who have to have that insurance on their mortgage or trying to sell their property or buy a property, they need that insurance requirement. They're finding it tough to find out there. But as a lot of people tend to do, is the last resort is the FAIR plan and getting on a policy on there to at least meet those requirements. Continue shopping around, but yeah, it is something that you definitely want to act on as soon as possible if you are non-renewed and you are required to carry.
But if you're not going to sell, does it matter?
I mean, if your mortgage requires it, then you'll still need a policy. You just kind of have to shop around for that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Carl, let's do one more.
I don't see any more hands up. Anybody else have a question? If not, I'll turn it back over to David and we'll continue with the program. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, thanks very much, Carl. And Rob?
Oh, wait, two questions just popped up.
Oh, okay. Take one of them.
Erin, go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question. I back up to Santa Monica Mountains, and there looks to be a lot of cleaning that could happen, at least along my fence line. Is that something the fire department has any responsibility, or is that something that I need to have a private company come and clean up?
I'm not certain that I understand exactly what you're asking.
Well,
Can you repeat that?
Along my property line in the back of my house backs up to the Santa Monica Mountains, which belongs to the state. And it feels like they should clean that at least for a certain distance back to keep us safer. Is that something I should take upon myself, or do I ask the city to come look at it and see if they can do any kind of cleanup there?
Okay, so if it's state land, if it's state area of responsibility, the city has no obligation to do anything, and they won't.
Okay.
And it's not that they don't want to, it's that they're actually then kicking sand in someone else's sandbox. As it relates to the state, we are designated as the wildfire coordinators for CAL FIRE, the state firefighting agency, through the California Fire Safe Council. So once again, I would suggest that you reach out to us and we can come and take a look. We are planning some clearance projects for the summer and fall. And what you're discussing may be one of those opportunities. So once again, either use the phone number we discussed, 213-634-0100, or you could send an email to info@mysafela.org.
Do you mind repeating that number one more time? I want to put it in the group chat.
Sure. It's area code 213-634-0100.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And tell me specifically when I put this in here, what you're calling this. This is for just you're the wildfire coordinator?
All you need to do is describe what you just did in your question, that you have some land adjacent to your
I'm
home
just-
that may need to be
just-
cleared.
I'm just putting this in the group chat for anybody else.
Sure, good idea.
Also, in the chat is Dante's email. You can send an email directly to him if that suits your purpose, and he'll respond to you within the next couple of days.
All right, thank you very much.
You're
One
welcome.
more, and then we'll move on. Mr.
Okay.
Klein. Unmute yourself, please.
Sorry about that.
There you go. There you go.
Yep. Thank you. Great program. I've been
Right there.
to have.
The guy, he's really under a lot of pressure.
I don't know.
Okay.
Mute the
Why
people.
do they have the Ukraine banners?
So let's mute whoever that is.
Yeah,
Is
trying
this
to
the
find it.
insurance
I don't
commissioner?
know who this is. They keep flipping, but the names, I don't know who this is.
Okay, let's try this again.
That's
I've
right.
had the same carrier for 35 years and they pulled out of the United States market. So now I'm shopping again. But in the meantime, all my neighbors here in the spaghetti streets of Woodland Hills have been dumped into Fair Plan. Is there an efficient way to find out what carriers we should be calling?
As far as the carriers go, I mean, there should be local brokers out there that are familiar with that area too, that are familiar with those companies. Like I said, a lot of these meetings and town halls that I've attended, there's usually somebody there soliciting their information for those companies. Like I said, if you don't want to go down the list, there should be brokers out there in that area familiar with those companies and knowing which ones will work with the Fair Plan or which ones are still offering policies. You just got to find out within your area.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. I believe that's it, David. Back to you.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, so moving forward, the last couple of years, we haven't seen much wildfire activity. And this past weekend, all of that changed. And we are now facing what our organization has been talking about for more than a year and a half, which is that all that wonderful rain that creates all that lush, green, beautiful vegetation, at some point, it can very quickly become something else, which is fuel. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is we're changing from the El Nino weather environment to a La Nina weather environment. Now, La Nina is not officially in California, but all of the trends are suggesting that by the end of July, we will be in a La Nina situation. La Nina is not a uniform weather pattern. So for example, in parts of Northern California, if it's affected by La Nina, the weather will be cooler. But in Southern California, the weather will be hotter, drier, meaning lower humidity, and as such, much greater risk of wildfire. If we look at what's happened just this year through June 19th, through yesterday, we can see that we are way above the standard of what's happened over the last 5 years. You remember we had some significant wildfires, but still 16,000 acres is the 5-year average. And we're at 90,000 acres just in the first 6 months of 2024. This is extremely concerning to anyone who's living in the wild urban interface, or what we call the very high fire severity zone. So what we're doing is we're urging people to get on board with this initiative that we have, the Wildfire Alliance, so that we can help you reduce the ignitability of your home and slow the pace of fire through your property. So one good example is the fire that occurred just this past weekend in the Gorham area of northern LA County, so just north of the San Fernando Valley. It was a pretty fast-moving fire, but because we have been conducting drills, just as the one I introduced at the beginning of our discussion tonight, they were able to jump on this very quickly. But almost 16,000 acres were burned in less than 36 hours. The good news was that this area that was burning was not adjacent to homes, and it was out in the open. So having this fire burn is probably not a bad idea, because wildfires are a natural occurrence in nature, and they actually promote regrowth. And there's something that if we didn't have homes and people living in the canyons and stuff, it'd be a much easier thing for us to cope with. But it was very quick moving. This is what it looked like only 3 hours after it began. And you can already see that there's a tremendous amount of smoke. There's already resources working on it. This is 2 battalion.
David, your screen's not sharing.
It's not?
Yeah.
My apologies, everybody. I thought it was. Hold on just a second. Let's see if we can fix that.
Here it comes. Good. Yeah, just blow it up and we're good.
Okay, so let me go back to the beginning then real quick. The post-fire in LA, just under 16,000 acres burned in less than 36 hours. And that's pretty rapid. Here's the image I was talking about. This is 3 hours after the first 911 call was sent in. LA County trying to set up a command post and looking at, in this case, doing some research, looking out at the scope of the fire and where it's moving. Here we can see several different images of firefighters that work both with fire break, some structure defense, and this is kind of what the overall look of the fire was on the front fire line. So you can see it was busy. Pretty decent flame lengths. Typically, if you look in the upper left-hand image, you can see, an average, say, 6-foot person there. So you've got about a 35-foot flame length, which is not outrageous, but still quite substantial, meaning that it can travel quite quickly. I thought this would be an interesting image for everyone to see. This is what a strike team is, and a lot of people hear about strike teams. And this is a good example of Ventura County strike team that was sent to the post fire. A strike team includes 1 battalion commander, that's the vehicle in the front, and then 5, typically what are called type 3, they're wildland fire engines, they're 4-wheel drive, they could go up and down hills and so on. But sometimes they include type 1, which is the fire engine most of us typically see in the city. But these are fully staffed crews and they operate together as one force, which is why they're called a strike team. And this is also from that fire. This is on the afternoon of the first day. And this is a fixed wing aircraft doing retardant drops. But you can see off to the left that there's a lot of dark smoke, which indicates that there's a lot of fuel being burned. This is perhaps the most concerning image to me. This is showing all of the fire starts in California over the weekend. And we haven't seen anything like that since 2021. So this is a very, very worrisome thing because we are in the middle of June and you would typically see this type of activity in October. So the fact that this is happening so early is of a big concern to us. We're going to talk about how we're going to be accelerating getting the word out to folks and what we can do about it in just a minute or two. We're going to have Jeremy Tramer from CD4 join us to talk about it a little bit. But if you look at this incident map, you can see that the large flame elements, those are fires over 10,000 acres, and there's a bunch of them. Sheila Kelleher, who we work with very closely, she's a public information officer for LA County Fire. She was quoted on Sunday saying this, that it's a ton of unburned fuel out there. The water, meaning the rain, was amazing. It helped with our drought conditions, but it has really created a big fuel bed. And a lot of these light, flashy fuels are the kindling that starts these fires. And those grasses can dry out very quickly, especially in the hot temperature and the winds. The most dangerous ignition source is grass, and it moves extremely quickly, and then it ignites other kinds of brush. So what she's saying here is that what was wet and moist and nice and lovely on June the 1st is dried out and fuel on June the 15th. And it's just something everyone should be aware of. If we look at the National Interagency Fire Center, which is based in Boise, Idaho, and their predictive services, this was issued just a few weeks ago, and it shows that by September 1, all of the west coast of California will be way above normal in terms of wildfire risk. And this is extremely concerning to all of us. You remember the Lahaina fire on Maui at the end of last year. You can see that all of Hawaii is at extreme risk. But because of that risk, we want to encourage people to take some steps. And one of the things that's important, Rob was talking about for insurance purposes, all of the various things that you can do. And he's absolutely correct that those are things you can do. And we've been talking about that and teaching people about that for several years now. But I want to remind everyone that some of the steps that you can take are not expensive and not complicated. And we're going to really focus on that in a couple of examples that we'll mention in a few moments. So wildfire safety fairs are a terrific way for you to learn about fire prevention, overall resilience, fire safety, and what's happening with the upcoming wildfire season. We have a really exciting announcement to make. I want you to see, this is from our last wildfire fair a couple weeks ago in Sylmar. Hundreds of people attended. You can see Carl is discussing different kinds of grates and screens. We have our Type 3 fire engine and Type 1 fire engine there in the lower photo. We offer free food and drinks and all kinds of prizes. These are really fun events to attend. And our next event is going to be in the Hollywood Hills on July the 14th, 2024 at the Greek Theater, the iconic Greek Theater. Nitya Raman, council member for District 4, is our partner in this endeavor, along with LA City Fire and a host of others. If you're with us, Jeremy, perhaps you'd like to say a few words.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction, David, and for all this amazing information as usual. And yeah, as David said, Sunday, July 14th, it's going to be 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the Greek Theater parking lot. We're going to have, of course, MySafe will be there, LAFD. We should be having LAPD, Emergency Management Department, DWP, the California Department of Insurance is going to have representation there, which I know a lot of folks will be interested in speaking to them. Some emergency recovery and survival product organizations. And yeah, as David mentioned, there will be free food, but I don't want to call it a catch. The great aspect of it is that in order to qualify for that free food, you can get a stamp at a bunch of different stations where you can learn a lot of helpful information and ask your questions, and then you get some free food from our food trucks. And the Greek Theater, in addition to being an iconic and beautiful location, is also really important in the fire history of the city, which we'll be talking a lot more about at the event. But as I'm sure a lot of you know, the second deadliest wildfire in California history was actually in Griffith Park in 1933. And the Greek Theater is also in Griffith Park. And then in 2007, it was the staging area for another fire in Griffith Park that you'll hear a lot more about on the day. I'm sure that all of the folks who are here will get the official flyer and all that sent to them through MySafe LA. But yes, save the date, July 14th, 11 to 2, Greek Theater. And we're really looking forward to seeing y'all there.
Thank you, Jeremy. These wildfire fairs are really terrific, particularly if you're not up to speed on what needs to happen. You can learn about home hardening, see different materials, touch them, find out what they cost, who can put them on, how do you do it yourself. We have terrific demonstrations related to water and power, how that can be affected during the course of a wildfire. We have firefighters there, so you can talk to them. These are firefighters who are familiar with the Hollywood Hills so that they can manage your questions and make sure that they give you good feedback. And we'll have some other fun things that we'll be doing with kids so that they have some fun when they're there as well. And we will spend some time talking about evacuation procedures and what you need to know about evacuation. So it's a really good reason to spend a Sunday with us during lunchtime and to have some fun. And we look forward to seeing everybody there. And thanks very much, Jeremy, and for all of your collaboration. These activities and events wouldn't be possible without a collaboration between us, fire department, emergency management department, LA Police Department, and our council districts. Council member Raman is very concerned about wildfire. She's very committed to helping the community understand that. Not everything that everyone wants to be done can be addressed at once. So we're not doing everything all at once. There's just not the bandwidth to do it. But this wildfire fair in Hollywood should be a terrific start so that we can try and make sure that the homes in the canyons there are safer. Let's talk a little bit about wildfire notifications. One of the things that has been a very important issue for everyone has been, how do I get notified? What happens if there's a wildfire? And we've talked to a lot of survivors from the Woolsey fire, the Saddle Ridge fire, and the Getty fire, who claim that they were never notified, or the notification came way too late, or that their phone service was down, any number of things that made them naturally very worried about whether or not they'd be able to get notified early enough to be able to evacuate properly if that's what the order was. So these are some of the issues that people have been worried about, that reverse 911 won't work, that they won't receive notifications even if they're sent out, that there's too little time to get out. And one of the biggest challenges with evacuations is that people, even if they are notified, tend to leave too late. So we'll address that separately. We did a couple months ago, but we'll do it again. That there's no alerting sirens or bells to tell everyone. If, for those of you that are older than 30 years old, you may remember in school we used to have air raid drills, and on the fourth Friday of the month there'd be these air raid sirens all around LA. People would like to see that sort of thing happen again for wildfire. It's in the discussion phases, but there's nothing at present that we can tell you about that happening. There are narrow, twisty roads, and fire apparatus incoming make it very difficult for you and your family to get out. So how do you get enough time to know what's going on? And we want to bring to your attention something that is really terrific. It's called Watch Duty. And Watch Duty is an alerting application for a smartphone. You can use it on a computer, on an Android device, on an iOS, an Apple device, and it provides real-time wildfire alerts. And you can have up to 4 counties listed. So you could have LA, Ventura, Riverside, Orange, if you wanted to just pick out 4 as an example. And anytime there's a fire start and a call goes to 911, that fire is going to show up on Watch Duty and you're going to be notified. You can track active fire perimeters, so it'll show how large the fire is. If you look at the smartphone image on the right, you're seeing the green line is actually the path of a retardant dropping aircraft. And below it shows you the total number of acres involved, the containment, its status. So there's a tremendous amount of information that is shared with you. The image on the left shows you all the aircraft in the air in the state. Moving on, it also will show all evacuation orders, all shelters. You can submit your own photos. So this is a really smart app, and it's produced, not surprisingly, by a nonprofit organization. So their intent is strictly community service, but this is a really worthwhile thing to get. And if you want to scan this QR code, it'll take you right to the Watch Duty website. And from there, you can either get it for your Android or iPhone, or for your Mac or your PC. And it is, we've found it to be an absolutely outstanding device. So good is it, in fact, that it is used not only by the public to get notified, but it is also used by commanders in the field, incident commanders, unified commanders, operations folks, to make decisions about whether they should launch a mission, whether they should ask for an aircraft, what it is that they should do, because the information is so accurate and is so quickly disseminated. The Watch Duty folks have 4 different mapping solutions all integrated together. They have 16 different sources of information that they collect information from and share. It's a terrific application, and I'm sure there's just much more to come from them. It's a really terrific solution. And so if you get a chance, last thing, it's free. You can get an advanced version for $25, but for everything that you would typically need to do, it's free. And that's kind of hard to say no to. Overall, the best opportunity to reduce the risk in Los Angeles is to reduce the ignitability of every home. I mean, that we could talk about insurance and the cost of that. We could talk about the fire department and what they may want to do. All of those things are cogs in the wheel, so to speak. But the most important thing overall is reducing the ignitability of every home. And that's a little easier to do than some people might think. And I would tell you, as we do wildfire assessments and visit with homeowners, it's very easy for us to very quickly see, oh, this home is doing well, or this home is going to burn down. It's a very quick assessment for us. We won't say that necessarily out loud, but we're thinking to ourselves, this house is in trouble, or this house is doing great. And so if you talk to us about your needs, then we can see what we can do to help you. One of the very best things that you can do is to become a Fire Safe Council. It's a little easier to do than to become a FireWise NFPA site. We can designate you as a Fire Safe Council. I think that's a really important thing for any organized nonprofit. So a homeowners group, a neighborhood council, you do need to be a nonprofit organization for this. But once you become a Fire Safe Council, you can then apply for grants, and those grants can be used for clearing the brush adjacent to your home or on your streets, for home hardening purposes, whatever it may be. And to make sure that I underscore how important being a Fire Safe Council is, 3 weeks ago, the Department of Agriculture issued a whole series of grants, and there are Fire Safe Councils that earned $9 million, $5 million, $7 million grants for their communities to be able to do this stuff. So we're not talking about a $5,000 grant. We're talking about significant money to do significant work. So becoming a Fire Safe Council, hugely important. Our next virtual town hall will take place on July the 18th, 2024 at 7 p.m. These meetings, if you want to make a note in your calendars so it's easy for you, they are always on the third Thursday of the month. We do not do a meeting in January, and we do not do a meeting in November. And if there is a significant incident that interferes with our staffing, that may be a complication, but we schedule meetings for the other 10 months of the year. Our next meeting will have Fire Safe Council updates, how Fire Safe Councils can earn grants, wildfire safety fair updates, and some wildfire history. We want to make sure that we share the history of important wildfires, because then people can learn from those things and apply them to their own lives. So thank you very much for being here tonight. It's a pleasure as always to have you. And we look forward to seeing you at the Wildfire Safety Fair in Hollywood, if you can come to it, or at our next town hall meeting, or if you need a home assessment, or you'd like us to meet with your homeowners association. All of those things, just call us one more time, 213-634-0100, or send us an email to info@mysafela.org, and we will set something up. So thank you, everyone. Really glad that we had the opportunity to visit, and we hope that you have a safe evening and stay safe out there, and we'll see you again.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.